Good evening, everybody. It is Monday, January the 27th, 2020. You are watching Mr. Video Games Live Super Show, brought to you by Dead Sun Entertainment. Everybody ready? Say yeah. It's all good. It's all here. Welcome live to the show. Of course, I'm Slacker Kite Travis, whatever the hell you want to call me. That's fine. Just listen to my friends talk about video games. That's right! We got the same people coming back to us as you always know, love, and respect. First off, he's got no microtransactions. All of his transactions are entirely macro. It's Brian, aka Wonderboy.
I got that macro like Monopoly money. What's up?
Hell yeah.
It's fake printed, and it's got my face on it, but it has like way more value than all those real monies you got in your pocket, because it's me. I am the valuable one. I am the golden boy. No, I'm not. That's trademarked by another person. That's another person.
That's for your other podcast.
I'll be the silver boy.
Fair enough. And there's absolutely no reimagining required here. We're running with the OG mix. It's Lindsay K. Lady Marrowan.
I like that. I really like that.
Welcome to the show, Coop. I cannot say I've tried the Coke Energy, but trust me, you have told me that there is a Coke Zero / Red Bull mixture in the wild. It will be in my mouth within the week's end.
By in the wild, do you mean in the United States?
Yes.
I must go on a pilgrimage. I have to try this. I like to try dumb sodas, and this sounds like a dumb soda.
That's it. Show's canceled when my co-hosts go on a mission thing.
I mean, the 7-Eleven's just like a 15-minute walk away. We don't have to cancel the show.
Oh no, show canceled.
I can be patient.
I mean, maybe you can. I don't know about me, though, is the problem. Hey,
we can all be patient.
Maybe I figured out why my laptop was running so slow. Plugging it in usually helps, right? Oh, I'm so glad I got ready for the show. Also, regular and cherry Coke Energy. Yes, indeed. I hope you guys' week have been interesting.
Interesting, you say?
Have you lived in interesting times?
I don't know. I mean, I guess this is the part where we talk about our weekends for a second. Yeah, it was. It was an odd weekend to say the least in some ways. I actually went to this pretty rad. They had this Japanese New Year's festival here in town that I went to on Sunday. That was pretty sweet. You could get your picture taken with Hello Kitty. I did not get my picture taken with Hello Kitty.
What?
And I don't regret that. The line was terribly long, and honestly, it was kind of a low rent Hello Kitty. Let's put it this way: the head was rad, but like it was just like the person wearing the head was just like wearing like a black bodysuit with the head, so it's just like it's not full on Hello Kitty. That I tried hot dog sushi, that was cool, and then I came home and watched the Royal Rumble and got pissed off at some transphobic bullshit. Hooray!
Like, I don't know if I did anything really worth talking about at the top. Like, oh boy, I had sushi and donuts. And then myself, Play Watch, and Merowin watched Jeff Goldblum talk to people and immerse himself in VR. Woo.
I'd be into it.
I mean, he's an interesting fellow, but like... that's not really new. That might have come out in November, and I'm just now getting around to it because nothing has come out in the last few months.
I see. Well, I mean, I did also play a good like 7 hours of Titanfall 2 this weekend, so that was pretty cool.
Fair. Oh yeah, speaking of things coming out, Wednesday evening, I'm going to try to stream Cook Serve Delicious and see how much the game ends up pissing me off, since Cook Serve Delicious 3 is entering alpha on Wednesday, so I look forward to that, and we'll finally have a new game to talk about on Monday's show next week. All right.
What about you, Marilyn? What'd you get up to this weekend?
Not much. I took Friday, Saturday off work because it was Playwatch's birthday on Saturday. And really just hung out watching the Jeff Goldblum thing. It was reminiscent of watching an alien try to understand our planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was absolutely delicious and in the sheer awkwardness. um, Beyond that, a lot of GTA 5. I'm pretty sure there are a few 12 to 14 hour sessions in there.
Trust me, like, I have woken up after falling asleep and seeing you and Playwatch playing GTA 5 and woken up and you're playing GTA 5 and just like, how the fuck?
It, like, if you start doing heists and stuff, like, this afternoon, Playwatch and I and one of our buddies that we used to play Warframe with started on the Doomsday heist, and it is so ludicrously fun and just an absolute clusterfuck. So that's been interesting. I think we might continue it after the stream. I want to finish it. There's 3 acts. We completed the first. So that'll be interesting. And then, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's amazing how relaxing just driving around can be.
Interesting. I did nearly forget. I think it was last week, actually. Hades finally had its most recent patch, adding a new god, and it is still available on Steam. It's in early access still, but man, some of the additions I fucking love, but it's too, minutia to get to at the top of a stream. But I've also, fucked around a bit with that, and go fishing in a new game. Why not? Because everyone loves fishing minigames, right? Yeah? Everyone?
That hot fishing discourse.
Yeah! That's what everyone comes to Mr. Video Games, to talk about that hot fishing action going on in the lives of all of us. The new god, I forget her name. She's the god of seasons. So right now it's winter, so you get freeze abilities. So it's pretty fucking neat. All right. Anyway, going in, let's get ready and talk about actual video game news. And boy, we're going to start off with everyone's most favorite game type genre in the world, mobile gaming. God, I know. That hot mobile gaming action that everyone absolutely loves, because you all have phones, right? It's the joke that will never fucking die. As of Wednesday, EA announced that if you have an Apple product, whatever running iOS in some way that has the EA Tetris, as of April 21st, you no longer have access to that game. It doesn't matter if you bought it yesterday. You no longer will be able to play EA Tetris as of April the 21st. It will just fucking go away, and it disappears into the goddamn ether. Congratulations, you don't own your game anymore. Would you like me to read
Well,
right here?
I mean, it really doesn't surprise me. This is the one that was in collaboration with PopCap, and they are so outdated. Like, PopCap did all of the old Flash games that I played in high school. And so, like, yeah, it's just, nah.
This wouldn't be such a big deal, honestly, if the game was actually like a free Tetris game.
Yeah, and I think there is a free version with, all of the fucking ads, but this includes the version, if you purchased it, doesn't fucking matter. You don't have it anymore. It's not yours.
Yeah,
Are,
and like, sorry, go ahead.
are they going to be issuing refunds for people that
No,
paid for it?
no.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, so apparently, from what I'm reading, like a lot of this boils down to the fact that EA might have lost the license
Yes, and
to to actually run a Tetris game.
that is correct. Network, with a 3 for whatever the fucking reason, now has the multi year agreement to Tetris. That doesn't mean it has an infinite agreement to Tetris, but it has the mobile agreement now to Tetris. So this may change hands again. So if you purchase this version.
I swear, okay, Tetris is a game that for going on 30 years now is available on literally anything.
Mm-hmm.
Literally anything that can play even like the smallest modicum of a video game, you can play Tetris on at this point. Why the fuck is it this hard for people to to be able to negotiate these contracts to keep having to keep pulling Tetris players onto this shit? Like, there's no reason why. Also, why would you make a paid one? Why would you make one that you actually have to buy as opposed to one that has the microtransaction stuff in it? And trust me, I am not a fan of the microtransaction stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But at least that way you are not having people invest up front to play Tetris on their phone. That's a game that that honestly, like, we laugh, but like that's a game that is so ubiquitous at this point. No one should be, for at least on mobile, you should not be charging money for that up front. Like, if you want to make like some new spin on Tetris, like we've seen on the Switch or in VR in the past few years, and want to charge a somewhat premium price on that, then you go for it. You give me Tetris reimagined in that way,
Oh,
or
yeah.
Tetris reworked. But if you're just simply going to give me fucking Tetris on my phone and make me pay like $3 to $5 up front for it,
Oh, it's not $3 to $5.
how much is it?
It is $8 for Tetris without ads.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It is $8.
They got people to pay $8 for Tetris on their phone.
Whereas you can buy the Tetris Effect game, which is the best Tetris that has ever been put out. I have no qualms in saying that, on the PlayStation, on Steam, what have you, or for fucking free on the Switch. You can play Tetris there, Tetris 99, and that shit's fucking dope as shit.
Well, to be fair, for Tetris 99, you have to buy the online service, so it is technically a $20.
You can either
buy-in.
buy the online service, or there is, I want to say, either a $10 or $20 version of Tetris you can buy that also gives you some amount of online, but also comes with the big box expansion for it that has more modes, single play, all of that good stuff included as well. That does come for a fee, but it also comes with the expansion modes and all sorts of shiny extra bullshit.
True, but like, it's just, I don't. This is just really frustrating to see. Like, yeah. Look, EA, like, their contract played out. Tetris company with somebody else. That's business. It's whatever.
Mhm.
It's dumb, but it's business. It's explainable. It's understandable. As stupid as it can be. But the fact that they're actually charging that much money for a Tetris app is mind-boggling. And like, it sucks because like whenever these deals and cause the game's developments to change hands like that, a lot of people are cheated out of that money that they spent. They're not going to see that money back. Like Merwin brought up, they're not getting refunds. Like, they're shit out of luck in 3 months with their Tetris game that they paid money for, and they have to drop more money on another Tetris game if they want to keep playing it.
Yeah, and according to Mike Fahey over at Kotaku, this new $8 network-made Tetris is fairly bare bones. There's not a lot more than playing your standard fucking Tetris game going on here with your hold and all of that, your special drops, blah, blah, blah. But it's not really adding any new gameplay modes or anything special other than your bare, straightforward Tetris for $8, and you have no idea when it'll die because that has a limited shelf lifespan with the network. If they don't do what they want them to do, Tetris Company may go with another competitor.
Once again, more money being taken from people who won't be able to keep playing their games. Like, this is not game ownership. This is fucking game licensing. This is game borrowing at this point, and it's fucking stupid.
This is where the whole games as a service kind of bothers me because, like, okay, cool. I buy a game off of Steam or I buy a game off of Epic. Is it really mine?
It's
Like,
not.
if they decide to just wipe our libraries, how much money have I just wasted?
Yeah, if you look at like your contracts with Steam or Epic or what have you, they withhold the right to remove your game whenever they choose to. Now, it'll be bad business if they do choose to, but they absolutely can. They just choose not to at this point. But you don't know what they might do in the future with that. Or if they happen to just shut down, congratulations, all of your games, if you have them through Steam, Epic, or digital otherwise, are DRM licensed. I hear that pause, and boy, my heart just goes to flutter. That dramatic sigh of, this is why I buy box video games still, and
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, this sucks because, like, I really like the fact that the digital marketplace is opening things up to so many other creators and so many other developers and people who would not be able to get something on the store shelves that in previous decades. But it also speaks to a growing change in distribution models and modified in-user license agreements. That honestly sometimes are modified to the point where they are unlawful, but also they're there until you catch them.
Correct.
Like,
And
it's
Soup
just
in chat did bring up a positive thing. This will be archived, right? If you download this with the APK, you can still archive this. Modders have already found ways around it. It's just not official. But if you're not offering it anymore, I don't give a fuck. I see all right to jailbreak my, iPhone, put the APK on it, and play your game now because you're not even fucking selling it to me in the first place.
See, here's the thing though with that. Let's be frank. Who is buying Tetris on their phone?
Me.
Okay, other than you, because I know you would buy Tetris on anything. If you could play Tetris in the palm of your fucking hand, if you could have it digitally inserted into your body, you would do it. I know you, Travis. Okay.
I'm the motherfucker with a physical game of Tetris you can play.
Exactly. That is you. But outside of you, who is buying Tetris on their phone? The most casual of casual people that are just looking for Tetris to play on their phone. They're just looking for an app to pass the time, and they know Tetris because everybody fucking knows Tetris. It's the same reason why I have a solitaire game downloaded on my phone, and it's just there because every once in a while I want to kill 30 minutes, So, like, that's the thing. Like, these people are not going to know about APKs. They're not going to know about archiving. They're not going to know about hacking or being able to mod in to go into playing these games somewhere else whenever they're gone away. They're just going to see that they spent their money, and then their game that they bought is going to be gone. It's not going to be playable anymore. So, like, yes, we can argue those points all day long because they are viable options that we have seen play out for a multitude of titles. But the general audience that is downloading this Tetris game and paying the $8 to stay away from the ads for the Tetris game are people that simply just want to play Tetris because they just know Tetris. It's not because it's not because there's not the people that are going to be dialed into these more specified areas of the fandom or the preservation scene. And that's the thing is, like, it's predatory in some ways like that. And I'm not saying that because EA let EA's contract ended or Tetris Company decided to go with somebody else, but like charging that much money up front for a game that you don't have a guarantee is going to be able to, like, be perpetually played, after that contract is over, like, that's really tough for me to get behind.
Oh yeah, I am fucking mad. I'm not buying this networked game because this is kind of bullshit. But you're entirely correct. Tetris is a game entirely built from the ground up for casual players. Casual players have no idea about these fucking marketplaces and rada rada. They just know, hey, I want a version of Tetris. I've heard of EA before. Doesn't my son play Madden with them? Fuck yeah, let's get that version.
Well, and it's also a case too, like if they do happen to know about sideloading APKs, they also are aware of the fact that if they jailbreak their iPhone in order to sideload that APK because Apple is proprietary as shit,
Mm-hmm.
that Apple Care that they've paid a ludicrous amount for is null and void.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Their warranty is gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the good news is it's not as much a problem on Android, so I don't have to worry as much. I might have that version of Tetris, maybe. Don't judge me!
I know, you're fine. Like, honestly, like, let's be frank, there's also a free version of this game. And, like, yeah, the ads are annoying as shit, but, like, you can get around them. You can ignore them to an extent.
Just throw your phone on airplane mode when you're planning on playing and you get no ads. Ta-da!
And I mean, just looking up Tetris on my phone right now, there's like 50 different versions of Tetris out there. Now, they're all called Brick Classic, Block Puzzle, Block Puzzler, Wood Block Puzzle 2019, but they're fucking Tetris. Tetris isn't really like. You can't really. It's a game so old that the general idea, you can keep the trademark on the name, but you can have as many fucking versions of Tetris out there as you want, so it doesn't have to be the Tetris company agreed unless you want the name. That's literally fucking it.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't necessarily have to have the name to still sell your product.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anyway, while we're still on the idea of mobile, you may remember recently that Kingdom Hearts came out with a nice big bundle that gave you everything before Kingdom Hearts 3 and Kingdom Hearts 3 Plus all together in one package, so finally everyone could play Kingdom Hearts everything in one place. It's about to end. Kingdom Hearts is now coming with a new mobile game soon, because Kingdom Hearts isn't complicated enough with the fact that Kingdom Hearts has been on the PlayStation, on the Vita, on the DS, on the Game Boy, on mobile. It's going back to being fucking everywhere again. If there is a market, they're gonna put Kingdom Hearts on it, and you can spend your money there with them.
Talk about oversaturating your marketplace. Like, they are literally trying to shove this down our throats.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot own a platform right now without Kingdom Hearts.
No, it's entirely true. If you have a system in some way, Kingdom Hearts is available to you. They go everywhere, and it's not the same game. The game will be single platform, but it's going to be an entirely different game. Goop, you're entirely correct. There have been at least 2 mobile Kingdom Hearts games that I can remember. I don't remember the full details. I'm not a big Kingdom Hearts fan, but I do watch a whole lot of Super Butter Buns. That's a huge fan of it, so I have a familiarity with how fucking complicated the Kingdom Hearts scene is to be in. But you don't gotta wait long. It's coming this spring.
No, I get that, but like, look, this is just. I really want to be in the boardroom with Square whenever they decide to like what their promotion is going to be for something, because like literally announcing this with just a screenshot and nothing else is just so stupid.
But they have a campaign now. Guess the name of the new Kingdom Hearts game, because every Kingdom Hearts game reads like a fucking Panic at the Disco album.
I mean, you're not wrong. I don't like this. This is the dumbest guess the name. This is just so like. I get it that they're leaning into like the convoluted like naming structure that they've given that series since forever, but also just announce what you have at this point. Like just say it.
Yeah, if it's literally coming out spring is 3, 4, 5 months away, somewhere in that time period. You could just tell us the fucking name.
Also, like someone in the comments of this article like actually brought up a good point. At no point do they say this is an actual game. They just say it's a Kingdom Hearts experience.
Ooh.
This might not be a game.
Or even worse, it could be an ARG like
Oh
you
no!
see with Harry
Oh.
Potter
no!
or Minecraft Earth.
Oh no, I don't
And
want that.
helping out.
They did use the word experience, not game, didn't they? Fuck
Yeah.
me.
Why? Why? Here's the thing. If this is an ARG, Jesus fucking Christ. Every anime convention is going to implode on itself.
Oh,
If
God.
this is an ARG.
I don't want to think about AWA. Oh, that's going to be nothing good.
This is just crazy to me. Like, that's the thing. Like, okay, look, Square has succeeded. They've got us talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, Jesus Christ, is this frustrating? Like,
well, they have us talking about it because we're doing a show. Quite frankly, if I weren't doing a show, I would have looked at this headline and moved the fuck on. But here we are. We're doing a show, and some of our people, Coop might actually fucking love Kingdom Hearts. Coop might be the biggest Kingdom Hearts fan you have ever met. I don't know what's in his closet. I haven't bothered to go dive into his closet. He could be the biggest weeb closet that you've ever known. So we're here for you, Coop, because we love you. And apologies for singling you out so hard like that. Thank you for playing along with the Mr. Video Game Show game show.
look, here's the thing. Like, I like Kingdom Hearts. It's okay. Like, I make fun of it because like the story, the plot goes every which direction possible and doubles back over itself 4 times. But like, also, like, this is just not the way to. I don't know. This just rubs me the wrong way of them trying to like generate buzz about this. Like, especially like, even the rules for their contest is convoluted. Like, literally, they give you hints about what the title is, and the only hints that they give you are 8 letters, 2 words, or is it 10 letters, 8? Let me see this again real quick. I'm on the Twitter page. You have until the 28th to get it. 8 letters, 2 words. 10 winners get a $100 Amazon digital gift card.
All right.
This is dumb.
Follow our new Twitter. Add in the comment your guess. Make sure to include the hashtag #KHNameContest. Campaign ends January 28th, 2020, 6:59 p.m. Pacific Time. 10 winners with the best game guesses will win big.
God.
Speaking of your big winnings, though, thank you, GameIndustry.biz and Brendan Sinclair. Activision Blizzard and Google have handshake. They have signed a contract together. Google Cloud and, of course, YouTube Gaming will now be the preferred cloud service for all Activision Blizzard e-services related items.
Okay,
So-
in
sorry.
English?
Okay, so I can break this down a little bit, I think.
Mhm.
1 second. I have to call.
Take your time. Breathe.
Okay. So, basically, this was one of a few things. Possibly one of a few things. One,
Mhm.
Google seriously made a advantageous business deal to stick it to Amazon. That's that's definitely part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because of course Google owns YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to be moving the majority of the cloud-based services that Activision Blizzard utilizes for their games and their development onto Google's cloud system as opposed to AWS, which they had been using for all of those systems, which almost everyone uses AWS. So moving over to Google, like that is a big coup for Google, especially a company the size of Activision Blizzard, even though they you know severely downsized last year. I'm not letting them forget that. Um, and then of course the real major like juicy part of this is the fact that this deal brings Activision Blizzard's esports leagues exclusively to YouTube for live
Mm-hmm.
streaming purposes. That means that the first 2 years, like Overwatch League,
Mm-hmm.
existed on Twitch. That was a multi-million-dollar contract that they had with Twitch. I assume it was only a 2-year deal because like obviously they're moving over to YouTube for this season. But it also means that the Call of Duty League, which started this past weekend, um, is going to be streamed exclusively on YouTube as well. Meaning that one of the more successful, popular esports leagues that has modeled itself off of traditional sports leagues is going to be moving from gaming's like probably most known and heralded streaming service to YouTube, which obviously YouTube's still known for live streaming, but not necessarily to the same level in terms of the gaming sphere as Twitch is. So this is a huge coup for YouTube gaming, um, because yes, you get the popularity of the Overwatch League, but you also get the startup of the Call of Duty League, which honestly looks to emulate that for Call of Duty and bring an entirely new audience of esports people who follow Call of Duty in that way. Um, I want to say that there's already other esports stuff that streams on YouTube. It gets pretty good numbers comparatively. Um, Obviously, they're not like super popular ones like you have like the international or Evo or stuff like that, which still run on Twitch. But yeah, no, this is a very big business deal for Activision Blizzard and Google specifically because they basically have shoved YouTube into the forefront as a major competitor in the game streaming sphere, especially the esports streaming sphere with this deal.
Oh yeah, AWL is such a huge thing in the esports business now. So moving all of that from Twitch to YouTube exclusively, I mean, is weird, but you fucking do you. Have fun with that.
Now, do you think, and like this is spitballing and probably way out there, do you think there would end up being a case of Activision Blizzard no longer allows independent streamers to stream their games on
Oh,
Twitch?
I sincerely doubt that.
Well, here's the thing: independent streamers, no,
Mm-hmm.
but the one thing that people sometimes forget about, especially with the Overwatch League, is that all of the pros in the league do also stream on the side, and some of those streaming channels are, kind of um, either overlooked by the organizations that they play for or the league itself. Like Blizzard has a hand in like moderating and looking and watching over some of those stuff. Like that's where a lot of the code of conduct issues that came up during the first season of the Overwatch League were found. Like where players were doing personal streams and a lot of the shit they did some problematic shit during those streams. Um, so I think that those like people that play in Overwatch League, people that play in Call of Duty League, people that play Hearthstone, people that play oh, what's the other one? StarCraft, I think. Any competitive esport that they have going on right now underneath the Activision Blizzard banner, I think those players will have to move their personal streams to YouTube. That I have not confirmed that. I have not seen any confirmation of that, but it would make total sense if if they were going to sign an exclusivity deal with YouTube, that those players' personal streams would come to YouTube as well, which could be another big burgeoning thing for the YouTube gaming platform.
It will also end up costing them, though, because I mean, a lot of those people are partnered. They bring in a shit ton of money through their streams on Twitch, and getting affiliated, getting partnered on Twitch is not easy. It's even harder to get partnered on YouTube and to tell them, "Hey, we know you've spent the last 10 years trying to build up your following. Start over." Like, that's kind of bullshit.
I mean, yes, that's a very viable concern. I would say it's more of a concern if you were an independent streamer, though, as opposed to people that already have a built-in fan base based off of their participation in a league as popular as Overwatch League is. I know that's the one I keep coming back to. But that's like the most pertinent example right now. It's the one that's established as opposed to the Call of Duty League. But you have the backing of the organizations that you play for already. You already have in most cases, I would say somewhere in the six-figure range of a contract to play with that league. So you're already like your income is somewhat stabilized in that way. Similar to how we have like minimum contracts that or minimal compensation to other streamers like Ninja and Shroud and other people that have signed those contracts with other streaming platforms other than Twitch. Um, and also like being part of the Overwatch League kind of helps you get the word out to your fan base easier, I would think. So yes, if they were not associated with the league, if they were not associated with the teams that they play for, I would see that as more of a challenge and more of a barrier to wanting to make that move. But I think that a lot of those people it'll be easier for them to migrate to YouTube to follow these players, especially considering that, like, let's face it, Twitch has a imprint. They have a large number of people that come to watch. YouTube has a much wider audience that they can play off of, that they can reach out to. It's not just known as the game streaming platform. It is the streaming platform.
True. It just feels like another major hit, like people just trying to take as many shots against Twitch at this point with these exclusivity contracts as they can, seemingly out of fear of the dominance that Twitch has had so far. So, YouTube and Mixer are going to slowly but surely chomp out that huge, market. But you are also correct. When you think videos online, you think YouTube. So probably to a casual market, they could give less of a shit. But for people who routinely watch streams, they may go to Twitch and be like, "Hey, where's the Owl League?" So
yeah, and look, that's going to be an issue at the beginning. I think like you're going to have people going to Twitch because that's what they know to do with Owl. Like it's not. This is probably a good thing for the league overall, but it's not going to be without its hurdles.
right.
Like people moving over to a new platform. You have undoubtedly people that have bought into the Twitch culture in a way that they would see the people moving to YouTube as like sort of a blasphemy in some way. I would think like you have this idea of like corporate rivalry, which is complete stupidity in my opinion. But I mean, it's still there. It still exists, and some people, they're not going to get the memo up front. Mm-hmm. So, like, this isn't without its worries, I would say. But right. If they're confident enough to sign the deal, like having talked to some people in that company, like, if they're confident about a deal, like they seem to know the right places to go, and that they've been patient about expanding the league and having the league grow in a way that would incorporate wider audiences. It's also had some issues reaching out to those wider audiences because, like, as much as I love watching competitive Overwatch, it can be unbridled chaos at times to try and understand that game, and like. The casters and the company as a whole have done a great job at trying to like teach new viewers who haven't played the game like what is going on and trying to impart that knowledge about different things that go on within competitions in Overwatch. But even to the most hardened like player and the people that know what's going on, like I can tell you from personal experience, like being at the grand finals last year, like I was watching that and I was like, oh, this is rad as shit, but also just like I don't know what's going on like a quarter of the time what's happening here. Like I really wish I had the casters in my ear
Mhm.
so I could have like that feedback loop of like, okay, yes, I am understanding what's going on and trying to figure out something else, while like 5 seconds later something completely different is going on. Like it moves at such a rapid pace that you need to be able to have new fans buy into it and teach them somewhat easily.
Like hilariously, the show that we were watching over the weekend with Jeff Goldblum, he was actually at an esports event, and it's fun seeing somebody who knows nothing about esports trying to be at a live competition and what his thoughts are. And he goes into every scenario, right, looking at these things objectively. Like everything is interesting to him, which is nice because I can imagine a lot of people who know nothing about Call of Duty going to one of these shows and being like, "Oh well, this is weird, isn't it, guys?" It's just like, no, I don't really get video games, but man, there's so many lights and the crowd is pumped and there's so much excitement. But he's watching the event takes place, and he doesn't even understand when it happens that like the game ends. It could be that confusing to the outside. So these casters are that hugely important to telling you what's going on, because man, there is so much going on during these people move so fast. Without that voice in your ear, it's not like watching football where it's fairly obvious where the ball is. You can see it go back and forth. You need somebody really telling you what screen to watch when. So, yeah, casting is such a huge thing, and who cast and what voices you get and how it's even done is a huge part of it. But if there is anyone out there that I think cares about the esports industry, it's Activision Blizzard right now. They are the most invested, I would say, right now. I mean, obviously, you've got Fortnite and all that are big, but I think that kind of just comes of its own under its own power at this point. They're not really having to put the extra effort into it because it's such a self-powering vehicle. And then you watch Activision Blizzard and how far they are going out to, make their games esports friendly. They go the mile for it.
Well, I mean, they're making their games esports friendly to an extent to where they think it's profitable.
Right.
Like we can't be mistaken that, we
Yeah.
can't forget that Heroes of the Storm bit the dust like fairly quickly after it moved into the esports arena. So
Also very true. Once they don't see a profit in it, they are ready to fucking ditch. Which I think is, I hate saying it, it's fairly savvy on their end, but also damn.
I mean, it's savvy, but also it's just like maybe have like better strategies rather than just throwing every idea you have at the wall and seeing which one sticks.
True.
Yeah, I think the whole Heroes of the Storm kind of crushing and burning out as esports was them realizing that they can't compete with things like League or Smite in the MOBA genre.
Mm.
Like, there's no possible way. Those two games are way too big. They have way too massive of a following. And Heroes of the Storm, I've played it. I've played League. I've played Smite. And Heroes of the Storm is the least polished of the three.
Yeah. Heroes of the Storm has never really looked that good to me. It looks like a fun idea that they had, that they put out. Does it have a very strong community? Yeah, the people who are devoted to Heroes of the Storm are extremely devoted, and I can tell they were crushed when Activision Blizzard took their choice, but uh, it's not as big a community as the others, and it's just not as interesting of a game, to be honest.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where they have to understand their competitors within certain marketplaces. Like, if you're building a MOBA to try and make it esports ready, you have to understand that you are going into perhaps the one marketplace in the esports area that is the most impenetrable. Like, we're talking about League and Dota. League and Dota make esports turn. You talk about like
Mm.
like tournaments and competitions that dole out the most prize money of any esports competition. You're looking at League and you're looking at Dota.
Mm-hmm.
So to even think that you could make a dent in that just because you think your game is better, like that is, it's just so weird to me that they even tried that.
And I think one of their major failings with it too was actually one of their biggest monetization methods, which was the fact that it was a rotating roster of heroes that you could play for free. So if you got really good with one, cool, in 2 months you might not be able to play it unless you buy it.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing that League does,
Yeah.
but
But
League
League
has a
still has a group that is always free.
true, true.
Like, I played through the tutorial of Heroes of the Storm back in the day, and they gave you Raynor to use. I went back to the game a month later, and they told me I had to pay $5 to be able to play as Raynor, the one that I learned how to play the game with. Like, that just did not make sense to me at all.
God. Yeah. Well, I will say this: like, if you want like a good article to read about like this kind of shifting and spreading of the streaming marketplace, like Austin Goslin over at Polygon put out something today that I'm going to link in the chat here, but it's a really good read, a kind of understanding why people are moving to platforms other than Twitch and why the proliferation of streamers is actually a good thing in the long run, as opposed to everybody being on Twitch at the same fucking time.
Also fair.
Yeah.
All right. When you get into business methods, and I know complete diatribe here, but there's a thing that they refer to as a shit sandwich. When you're trying to give bad news, you put it in between two bits of good news. The next few stories, well, just like two major stories, but are shit. I'm just going to get straight into it. We're about to go into a minor shit block. So I want to start off first with something fairly positive as we slide our way into it. The sugar on our top of our shit sandwich. Doom Eternal has confirmed that there will be 0 microtransactions or XP unlock cosmetics to come along with its game, which is nice to hear for a full value $60 game in 2020, just coming as a game. So nothing is locked behind your abilities, only your content. You just play the game, and there aren't unlockable cosmetics. Unless like you're just playing the game, you can get cosmetics just by playing the game, but it isn't tied to skill or ability or money. Yeah, so if you don't want to look like Halo Boy but shitty, you've got your options.
I mean, that's good. That's a good thing to say. I didn't expect there to be microtransactions in it, but I'm happy.
I don't. With modern Bethesda publishing items anymore, I don't have a lot of faith in these published art items, so it's good to hear at least.
I will believe it when, if 2 months after release, there are still no microtransactions. Because we've heard this before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also very fair. Look at Borderlands 3. No microtransactions, except for there's microtransactions.
Well, that's Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
They can't decide what the fuck that thing's supposed to be to begin with.
This is also true. Now, that being said, all that positivity we're giving to Doom Eternal. Thank you, James Billcliffe over at VG247. He had a nice interview with Mary Stratton, the executive producer of Doom Eternal. And of course, there was a delay because there was extra time. That is, and they've gotten a lot of polishing and whatnot done, but also, according to her, we were crunching pretty hard most of the last year. It goes in phases. We have one group of people crunching, so the next group of people are teed up properly. As they get done, they need to crunch a little bit. We truly do try and be very respectful of people's times and lives. We have very dedicated people that just choose to work a lot in many cases. It was nice because we want the game to be perfect. We want it to live up to our expectations and consumer expectations. We work very hard and we'll put in extra time to do that. Sometimes, when we just get the extra time, we do it anyways because we want it to be that much better. So yet again, another reminder that a delay does not mean that the developers are getting more time to develop and build this in a constructive manner. It is just more crunch time. Thank you, Id.
Oh, God. Like, honestly, like, I'm trying to not be cynical.
Mm-hmm.
Because this comes as no surprise, honestly.
Yeah, we've been doing the show for a few years now, and crunch in the AAA market comes up again and again and again, and I don't know if I feel that there is a AAA developer out there that truly develops their games without these crunch cycles that these studios have. I'm at least glad that they're not bullshitting it. They aren't trying to polish the turd on this. But it is another major developer admitting that despite the extra time, don't go in to these threads when they say that they are delaying the game because they want to give you the best game and give them the take as much time as you want to. We'll be here waiting for you whenever the game is ready. But that just means another 3, 6, 9 months, another year that these developers are losing their nights and weekends to put out the game for you.
The real. Sorry, go ahead.
Really, the whole crunch culture in game development is partly our fault.
Oh, yeah.
We are a society, and even just if we want to focus in more, a generation that needs instant gratification. We need it now. We needed it yesterday. Make it happen yesterday. And so the pressure of the consumer base is forcing developers to crunch. Is it ethical? No. Does it suck? Yes. Does it need to stop? Hell yes. Will it? Probably not.
I'd push back on one point about that, in that I wouldn't say this is a generational thing. Yes, the instant gratification thing is a valid point, especially with the development cycles that have kind of come about in the past like 2 to 3 console generations. But let's be frank, like these practices have been going on in gaming since like the early 90s. Like this is not a new thing at all. Like lest we forget the fucking, I can't remember his name right now, but one of the dudes who like helped develop Duke Nukem or whatever put out the fucking Bible that he wrote talking about how like you need to find like the introverted nerdy person that we found that we knew like in the early 90s all just work because they have nothing else going on outside of their fucking life. Like that was in a thing where someone was trying to tell people about how to run development houses not too long ago. Granted, that whole shit got thrown out with the bathwater. in some ways, but all that's really ushered in is this more inconspicuous culture of crunch. And while audiences clamoring for games to come out quicker or games to come out on their timetables has been an issue, I definitely see that as an issue. I think one of the larger issue is that these development houses, um, they need to understand that they are in control of that stuff. They are in control of development cycles. Granted, there are executives there that will push them the same way that audiences will push them to get stuff done. They want things, you know, they want the cogs turning. They want a new product rolling out on the assembly line, to use an analogy, in a timely manner. But the thing is, like, games have gotten so big and so dense and so hard to make that people within the industry feel like they have to crunch to get stuff done. That's the issue. That's the issue for me, at least, is that, like, them talking about, like, we have all these people that, like, want to throw their head in and want to work these long hours and blah blah blah. I'm like, that mindset is the first thing that needs to start trying to change. Is that we do not give our mental health and our bodies and our physical well-being for a company that is perfectly fine to pat you on the back whenever the game comes out, but, like, job security is not a full-on thing most of the time with these companies. There's so many, like, contractors that come in to work on stuff like this, in working the same hours at multiple studios. We've seen, like, the Rockstar spouse stuff, like, talking about, like, family lives being devastated by this sort of thing, whether it was a directive from the company or whether the people within it actually were, like, perpetuating the culture of feeling like, because that's the thing, is, like, if one person is willing to work those 80 hours and then another person wants to work a more healthy schedule, one that goes along the lines of one that would speak to a healthy work-life balance and would fall more in line with what the people behind Game Workers Unite are trying to push for, there's going to be a pressure there to, like, people will point to the 80-hour worker and say, like, well, if, like, this person is really, really dedicated, they translate that to dedication, which is super frustrating to see. And, like, Marty Stratton, I love you to death, love the stuff that you make, love the stuff that y'all are putting out at id, but for fuck's sake, stop perpetuating the narrative. Learn that you are, like, the first source of change for this sort of stuff.
I want to note, and Coop in chat has a fairly good point, crunch isn't new to gaming. If you ever have a chance, the Gaming Historian has a great video on Mario 3. These people spent 3 years, mandatory minimum 80-hour work weeks every week for 3 years, no vacation, zero vacation during this 3-year process, to release Mario 3. Every person on that team for 3 years, 80 hours a week for that time period to put out Mario Brothers 3. It has gotten better in the industry than it's been, but we're finding out more about it because of social media and the need for a union. At least in the 80s, when they came out with Mario 3 and all the Nintendo good stuff that they put out, you were guaranteed almost a lifelong job at that point. The people who worked at Nintendo in the 80s are still working there. You don't get that promise anymore.
I mean, that's also kind of a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's more of the culture in Japan. It's like, you started a corporation, you stay at that corporation your entire time there. And that's shifted somewhat since then, but it's still the kind of the overarching, like, cultural narrative there. It's not the same in America, especially as the workforce has shifted much more so to, like, independent contractors and less salaried employees in a lot of instances, unless you're, like, a huge major company. So, like, the structure of this stuff has really undercut some of workers' powers to change things. And It's time some of that power gets taken back.
Yeah,
Honestly.
especially European culture has a much better take on it, though even a lot of European, even Scandinavian companies in game development still have a lot of crunch.
Hmm.
Well, and what Brian said is something I wanted to comment on as well is like in North America, especially, we've moved more towards a gig economy. So, very rarely for companies, especially in the video game sector, do you see actual full time employees. They're contractors. And so they end up crunching because they realize that if they look worse than the dude beside them, they might not get to keep this job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
that was a. Sorry, go ahead. I mean,
the gig economy is just like a really shitty way of like having a workforce, but that's what we've moved to, and it's not right.
yeah, I mean that was one of the major things that went down with the whole Fortnite issue last year. You know, ever there were all those reports coming out of, contractors that were working for Epic, and people that even like salary people working for Epic that were like reporting that there was pressure internally, like indirect pressure internally to work those long hours because you thought that you were not going to get your contract renewed when it was up. I think there was some similar stuff that came out of. I don't quote me on this, but I think some similar stuff came out of MK, the NetherRealm Studios as well, or Warner, their parent company. I want to say there was something there. Um, I'll double check on that because I don't want to speak out of turn.
Yeah, take your time. Yeah, and while you're looking that up, Kelvin also makes a fair statement of, it's kind of a twofold thing. First off, with a lot of Scandinavian companies and European otherwise, you do have tendency of promise to get the job back, but as well, in America, you're usually dropped at the end of a project if you're not a major contributor to the project, and as well, hey, your health insurance is tied to it. So fuck yourself.
Yeah, there was some stuff that came out of NetherRealm similar to that earlier this year, back in May or last year. It's 2020. Back in May of 2019,
Mm.
where like ex contract developers for the company like basically voiced like there was a culture similar to what we're speaking about right now that went on within NetherRealm um, during the development of MK11. So, or it was either MK11 or MK11.
Yeah, 9 was
So
the worst from what I heard, but 11 also was not great.
yeah, so like all the more we talk about like gig economy stuff and like the pressure to make sure that you make yourself attractive to the people that have given you your contract, like that is even more frustrating to see.
Mm.
It just speaks to how people like workers' rights have been undercut even more and more. You know,
All right.
DSA till I die.
Diving further into workers' rights, this coming out of the LA Times. Oh. Literally, this is the only article I read on you, LA Times, and you're not letting me open you. Fine. Don't worry, got a fucking backup.
LA Times it does that sometimes.
Eat a dick, LA Times.
Eh.
So we'll just go into the second article that I was going to pull up anyway. Thank you, GameIndustry.biz, for actually allowing me to pull up the same only article. But hey, Riot Games, you may remember, is going into settlement with actually two, I believe, of its previous employees. To the tune of $10 million was given. However, the Department of Fair Employment and Housing has had a rare step in on the lawsuit. Normally, if an agreement is settled between two people, they just go in at this point. However, the DFEH has stated that the lawyers did not do their due diligence in this case, and the company should be issuing something more to the tune of $400 million rather than the company giving its $10 million. to these previous employees, primarily sourcing that stocks are a significant part of employee compensation, especially for men within the company. And none of this was talked about in the case. And they make a statement that it is possible that the lawyers for these women have an amount of collusion with Riot Games to end at this $10 million settlement rather than the $400 million.
Yeah, it's some shit.
I can't tell you the number of times in a settlement that I have ever heard the government come back behind it. It's not even just DFEH. Other government institutions have looked over this as well, and also the Division of Labor and Standards Enforcement also came in and also made an opposition. The lawsuit is a compilation of claims jumbled together, and plaintiffs make no effort to explain the merits of various claims. Reads the document submitted. These are government agencies doing an unnormal step in to say this is not a fair agreement.
What's even more interesting about the Division of Labor Standards Enforcement's objection to this is that basically their whole objection, it comes back to this specific law in the state of California, the Private Attorneys General Act, which basically means that like employers and their, I'll just read, I have the LA Times article, so I'll read this from the LA Times article. Employees and their lawyers are allowed to bring suit against employers for violating labor law, legally stepping into the shoes of an official state agency to bring this case, in this instance, the DLSE. But as part of that power, the employees and their lawyers have to inform the state agency that they're bringing a suit and offer the state agency first dibs at pursuing the case itself. Here's the kicker. In the case of the Riot suit, the DLSE is claiming that the original notice for equal pay violations was misfiled and that the settlement clears Riot of any potential wrongdoing for unrelated violations over issues such as overtime and minimum wages. So basically, like, both the DLSE and the DLEH, I want to say, I forgot the acronym off the top of my head. The DFEH, there we go. They are both jumping in here and saying like, hey, you didn't go through all the protocols. Your settlements are basically washing away things that they're not meant to wash away. They are interfering with our own investigations into the situation, because keep in mind, the DFEH at least has an open investigation into the situation itself going on with Riot. And they are not taking into account all of the monies that would be available to these people based off of the discriminations that they suffered. And probably the most damning thing that I've seen here so far is that they are accusing, like I think you said this, that they're accusing Riot of a reverse auction in terms of like figuring out like which of the plaintiff's attorneys are the weakest among the plaintiff's attorneys. Like, it's just, it's interesting in some ways. Like, I don't know if they have enough to back up the reverse auction claim, honestly. I'm not terribly familiar with how that's going to play out.
Lawyers, so
I mean, yeah, but like this other stuff, like the fact that this settlement is there's logical reason to believe that both the DFEH and the I keep forgetting the acronyms. I apologize.
No worries.
The
Yeah.
DLSE. That both of these organizations have a viable reason to step in and say, look, you hold off. We are about protecting the laborers here, and we want to make sure that you are not fucking colluding with people to rip off these people. Because keep in mind, yes, $10 million is a lot of money. That is a big number that makes us all like shudder in our shoes a bit just to hear that amount of money. If we all saw that in front of us, we might faint. just from the sight of it. But keep in mind that Riot, as a company, has a net worth of between 15 and 21 billion dollars at this point.
And Giant
So,
Pie also points out in chat, really, one thing that I kind of knew but didn't really have the details because I think it was my LA Times article. So thank you for this, Giant Pie. According to the reports from ESPN, plaintiffs Jessica Negron and Gabriella Downey are due to receive the highest payouts for the settlement, $10,000 each, after accounting for legal fees and litigations approximating $6.2 million in settlement payments to be distributed amongst the remaining claimants of the class action lawsuit. So keep in mind, with the current settlement, they're not really getting a whole lot each in the first place. Just the lawyers are going to get $6.2 million. The lawyers will get $4.8 million because $6.2 million in settlement payments will be distributed.
yeah, like this situation feels like where there's smoke, there's fire. I think there's a logical reason for these organizations to be stepping in and trying to, do what's right on behalf of the people that brought the case against Riot. And it's interesting that the plaintiffs' attorneys are defending this process that they came to the settlement with as on the same side that Riot is. And another reason why I feel like this whole thing is like super frustrating is the way that Riot is classifying the statements from both these organizations. I believe the one that really irked me the most was the fact that they described the $400 million number that they threw out as, quote, clickbait. Because that's what the government agencies are in the business of.
Yeah.
Is clickbait.
This isn't just, ESPN and LA Times and Business Insider all coming together trying to generate big news out of nothing. This is a government agency saying, hey, we feel like this case wasn't handled properly. We feel like more money is due in this settlement. And I mean, if you leave it up to me, of course, I'm going to say fuck Riot. I think they have gotten better as a company, but they fucked up, and they didn't even bother to, rectify a whole lot of the people within the company that made these issues having to come front and center. So, yeah, if you're getting $3.8 million and your job is effectively done, of course you don't want to hear any further from these government officials that are going to make your case go further and longer. You just want to be done at this point. And I can't imagine that the class action signers are going to be terribly happy that the people that they entrusted with this lawsuit are just going to roll over and fucking die.
I mean, really, maybe it's just how I try to look at the world and want to hope for the best, but you'd think that with such a gross violation, like with how disgusting these women were treated, you'd think the lawyers would find it in their hearts to take this case on pro bono.
I mean,
you
you would
don't get
hope
that much in lawyers, though, to be real, especially not in a class action case.
no. And like, if some of the things that the DLSE are like accusing both the plaintiffs' attorneys and Riot of are true, like something like where the plaintiffs' attorneys did not actually do discovery before entering into negotiations for settlements, I'm like, that's fucked. Why would you enter a settlement negotiation without all of the fucking evidence? Like, that's just so bewildering to think about.
Get it done. Just get it done and get it out. Like, we've got a slam dunk. Just fucking go through and get the money and run.
Yeah.
And that's it exactly. Like, they went, well, with what we have, it's a slam dunk. So we don't need any more. Otherwise, it's just going to be a lot of extra work. And, it's kind of a mess if you look a little bit deeper into it. So, yeah, fuck that.
I don't know. At least like there's going to be hearings about this though. This isn't something that Riot can just like make go away. So
No, we're going to be hearing more, and of course, this is one of our favorite stories so far. So if more comes out, and I believe it will, you guys will know too.
I think this is the first time we've talked about this where I haven't ended up screaming.
I think you're
yeah,
right.
I would argue we would have an update next week on the show.
Yay! But let's end putting some sugar back on that turd sandwich, coming yet again from our favorite source, GameIndustry.biz and Rebecca Valentine. Now, I want to say that Human Rights Campaign each year, companies have to be they have to say they want to join in on this survey, but every year they survey companies that join in on this. And of the 13 companies that are gaming adjacent or focused, they all got a 100% score on being having equitable benefits for LGBTQ individuals and inclusivity company cultures. For all of the companies associated, that is Activision Blizzard, Apple, Electronic Arts, Facebook, GameStop, Sony Interactive, Warner Brothers Interactive, Warner Media, NVIDIA, Dell, IBM, Intel, and Lenovo all got 100% on the survey with the Human Rights Campaign for 2020. Now, of course, a company that is going to be more inclusive is more likely to submit to being researched and surveyed by the Human Rights Campaign. But the Human Rights Campaign is a fairly well-respected organization. For there are definitely problems with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely read some problems, but they are largely respected regardless. This does not necessarily mean that all of these companies are perfect, that they have done wonderful things for all of their individuals and that they didn't hide things potentially. So, all of those caveats aside, that at least still is fairly positive that a lot of the major companies that are bringing you things are very likely to care about the individuals that work for them, at least on a inclusivity level.
I mean, it's good to see, especially like some of these companies that we rail against for their business practices and their, uh, undercutting workers' rights and that sort of stuff. Like, yeah, it's cool to see that they're actually like inclusive about stuff and that they're, not shitty in all facets.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, I was surprised to see some of these names show up here.
Yeah, seeing EA
But
on this listing was kind of interesting.
I was more surprised to see Facebook up there, but
From
that's
the things I've heard, Facebook is a pretty good company to work for. Now, whether you'll stay there for long, they do tend to have a high turnover rate. Not necessarily because people, are leaving, but because they turn over their employees.
yeah. But I mean, all in all, like it's nice to see. Like, it's cool to see. I will say though, like, I'd be curious to see what some of the smaller companies would report in a similar survey, considering that this really only is applicable to companies that have 500 or more employees.
Mm.
But that caveat aside, this is good. This is a good thing.
It does make me wonder, though, if it includes as well the companies that are contracted under these major companies. Like
No.
Facebook outsources its moderation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I severely doubt
So
that it really looks at the companies that are subcontracted with these, which is, a fairly good point. Apple and Facebook, I am both aware, have subcontracted companies for some of their outsourced work. And as well, Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment and Warner Media do work as producers. That does not necessarily mean that the company is actually building the products for the items they produce have been treated well either.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the main reason why I think the Facebook showed up. Like, that's why that surprised me, I think.
Mm.
Mainly because, like, I know some of their subcontracting practices, and, like, the horror stories about their moderators, and what they go through on a daily basis is just horrific in some instances. So,
I've worked
and
for a
I'll
number. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead. What were you saying?
I've worked for a number of subcontracted companies. And very often your subcontracted companies are held to higher standards than the parent company itself, even though they may have staff at the parent company that's doing the exact same job as the subcontractor for less pay and less benefits as well. So typically your subcontractors are your ones that are disgruntled.
All right. Smoothing back into the rest of our evening together with you all. Thank you, Kelvin, for this. Now, keep in mind, this is one of those items that have been talked about. There's been a whole lot of stuff back behind the scenes as far as Knights of the Old Republic. This is a series that is beloved in, I mean that in no small way. The online game is still going. However, the talks of remake or sequels to the game have been going on for years now, since the article mentions 2015. I can definitely remember multiple sources talking about the potential of this coming back to life. However, there are now more murmurs coming out from at least two sources talked to this publication, and I've actually seen it a few other places, that they are back into development and looking at making Knights of the Old Republic again, less of a remake and more of a reimagining to more fit into the modern timeline, since Disney has purchased Star Wars at this point, and a lot of the canon was retconned in multiple ways. So, in some ways, they want this to be more in line with the main material and sources. I hope I got that right because I'm involved in nerd culture, but Star Wars is one of my blinder spots, let's say. And Giant Pie, I'd agree. Respawn is definitely a company that I would rather see in on this. I don't even like Star Wars much, but man, I played KOTOR and loved those fucking games. Well, at least the original two. I did not play much of the online. I've seen it. MMOs, I try to hide from, but KOTOR 1 and 2 were revolutionary for their time. And I fucking loved those games at that point in life.
No, if this is true, then yeah, I mean, KOTOR is a series that's still heralded now, and I think that would be I think many people would welcome a return to the KOTOR universe, even if KOTOR 2 did not hit in the same way that KOTOR 1 did. So,
True.
like, I would think that would still be enough to excite audiences, and coming off of Fallen Order's success, if not I don't know what the sales figures look like, but at least the critical and um, cultural success from that game, like it would be, I think it would be a good move for them to kind of develop a new single player KOTOR game.
Yeah, I would definitely love to see more of that and maybe a bit expanded. And there's definitely a lot of mechanics that were included in the original KOTOR that if you were to bring it in line with modern gaming, you would definitely have to redo a lot. In line with how Final Fantasy VII, a lot of its material had to be redone to feel like a more modern game. There is a lot of, especially KOTOR 1, that would really have to be redone to bring in line with more modern tastes. But I don't think it's undoable with the love that that series has as well. This is a great time to be looking into a Star Wars project right now, especially with how much love the Jedi Fallen Order had, and you really hadn't had that amount of fan appreciation for a Star Wars game in quite some time, and deservedly so in a lot of the cases. That being said, coming along well with bringing things back from the dead, Konami's TurboGrafx-16 is also making its own comeback. Thank you, Digital Trends and Andy Boxell, for this story for us. You may remember the TurboGrafx having such delightful items as Bonk, and of course other wonderful Konami stuff came to the TurboGrafx console. A counterpart to the Genesis SNES era. And boy, that gamepad was not the best looking, but it is coming back with your R-Type Space Harrier, Bomberman, Galaga, Darius, Super Ghouls and Ghost, amongst others, for a $100 release price point. The Super TurboGrafx, while not having the largest market, the people who are fans of the TurboGrafx are die-hard fucking collectors. So they are going to shit themselves to spend $100 to get this mini console. I absolutely promise you, those people will get it. It will be a small market, but the people who buy it are going to buy it sight unseen, regardless of how the interface and console actually play out. Console, it will be released on March 19th. It is exclusive to Amazon, and you will only find it through Amazon. You get one controller, but you may buy another $25 controller as well. And it has two ports, unlike the original that you had to do the what delightful daisy chain shit to put together. So, congratulations to all of you looking for yet another fucking mini console that you can plop your monies down on.
I mean, I would buy this. So, but I like my retro games. And this brings back a lot of memories.
I have no real memories with the TurboGrafx. I never heard of the TurboGrafx, to be honest with you, until I was a much older man. It did not hit in the South at all.
I mean, I knew of the TurboGrafx for like a while back. Like it was definitely after like long into the Genesis era. I think that where I actually heard about the TurboGrafx-16. I had never seen one in the wild because like growing up in the South, people didn't have that shit down there. But it was one of those things where like after hearing about it, kind of like seeing some of the games for, like I was like, I kind of want to try it just like out of curiosity, and of course that never happened. So like in that instance, this would be a fun little tchotchke to get my hands on and try out, especially the original version of Splatterhouse. You know, that was originally a TurboGrafx game, before it landed on other consoles. But what's really funny about this to me is that this will always live in my mind as like Konami's last, or at least their latest, big E3 announcement. Because this was I don't know if y'all remember E3 like a couple years ago where Konami was like, we have a huge announcement coming during E3. Pay attention to what we're gonna say. And then everybody's like, what could this be? Could it be a new Metal Gear? Could it be a blah blah blah? And it's like, nope, it's just a TurboGrafx Mini. And we're like, we're never paying attention to Konami during E3 ever again after this. Ever. At least that's how I felt. I'm just like, y'all are stupid. This is funny. Like, this made me laugh. I'm like, I'm glad that y'all are doing something with this because it's probably the last like major video game thing y'all are gonna do for a while. Just knowing the company and where Konami's at. But like, it was just like the most Konami-esque move. It's just like, hey, like well, this huge thing is happening, and it's TurboGrafx.
Yeah, it's another mini console. I'm not mad at this. Like the TurboGrafx 16 makes absolute sense for a mini, and from all of the hands-on that have the reviewers have had so far, it seems to play well. And the TurboGrafx 16 absolutely, if you programmed for it correctly. Let me put that in there. The games could be beautiful. Not all of them are, but man, some of those games on the TurboGrafx blew the NES and Genesis out of the water for its graphic fidelity. It just never seemed to hit here.
I mean, I know there was a good amount of them floating around up here. But like Galaga, the fact that it's got Galaga, I am thrilled. The very first, like I used to work in a dive bar shortly after I became legal. And we had a Galaga cabinet at that bar. So after shift, we'd be doing like post-shift drinks at the bar, and I'd be in the corner playing the fucking Galaga cabinet. The fact that this also is coming with a CRT television filter that you can use. So you can go like straight up full on retro. Like that makes me so happy.
Yeah, I know a lot of collectionists. I had listened especially to the See Completely Unnecessary podcast with Pat Contry, a very noted member of the collectors market out there, and when they talk about CRT filters, they speak with a lot of disrespect. It's a poor man's strategy when you could just get a CRT monitor, blah blah blah. I'm not going to get a fucking CRT monitor, and it does look more like I remember it with the CRT filters, especially for SNES games with their pixely bullshit. So it's fine for me. It is not for everyone, I understand, but it does actually, I think, look nicer to me. So I agree with you entirely there. But I understand as well that it is not the collector's preferred blah 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 blah. I don't give a shit.
I mean, honestly, the whole thing of just get a CRT monitor, those things are fucking heavy.
Yeah, I don't want to fucking bring that in my room. The fucking 50-pound bullshit that I have to pull up the stairs. Eat a dick.
No, not happening. I will very happily take my flat screen that I can throw into a backpack and carry with me. Like CRT was bullshit. Like LAN parties were hell.
But that all being said, if a mini console isn't your way to relive the olden days, how about a hotel?
Or a macro console.
Atari is partnering with GSD Group and Phoenix, Arizona-based real estate developer True North Studio to begin development on hotels themed after the Atari video game brand. And doesn't this look like something you want to spend your weekend in.
Yep. Hi, Queen of Retro. Needs, wants, where is, must go.
Well, before you get excited, it might not be as retro as you might think.
Yeah, it's got VR and AR gaming in state-of-the-art venues and studios to accommodate esport events.
So you're telling me I get to mix my love of retro with my desire and adoration for new tech? And you think this might dissuade me from wanting to go? Where is it?
We found the audience!
So apparently the first one is reportedly going to be located in Phoenix, Arizona.
There's nothing to do in Phoenix.
You can drink.
You can drink a lot in Phoenix.
Yeah, you can.
All right. Guys, pack up. We're going to Phoenix. We're taking this show on the road. We'll
Said no one
live
ever.
on location. We'll make a full-on video stream. We'll take people on a tour around the hotel. We're going, boys.
Okay, I will say this. If their plans do come to complete fruition, because they have plans to put 8 hotels in different locations, including one that would be within driving distance of me in Seattle. So, if the one in Seattle actually does go up, I might go check it out. Granted, this is like years down the line, I'm sure.
Yeah, don't think they have exact dates, but yeah, the locations are Las Vegas, Denver, Chicago, Austin, Seattle, San Francisco, and San Jose.
Yeah, that also surprises me. Why would you put one of these in San Francisco and one in San Jose?
That is pretty close together.
Why would you put 2 in the Bay?
Splitting the difference between... No, that doesn't work either.
I mean, you do get
LA
a lot
was
of
too
tech
expensive?
nerds out there, and there are an awful lot of esports-related shows in the area, so...
True, but let's be frank, like the 2 major hubs, the 3 major hubs for esports are Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and New York City. They got one of the 3. And the first one isn't going... If I'm them, the first one's going up in Vegas.
Absolutely. I would shit to have this in Vegas, because, I mean, I look at this and it looks gaudy as fuck. You put this in the middle of Vegas, this is downplayed in the middle of Vegas. Giant pie if they can even fund the buildings, unlike the Atari VCS. Ooh.
You're very true. Like this is we're talking about all of this right now as if it's going to happen. That's even if this actually does happen. I'm like 30% that this is actually going to happen. That we're actually going to see an Atari hotel.
Well, if it does happen, and they do end up in Seattle,
Yes.
maybe it's high time for Slacker and I to come visit.
Absolutely. We'll have a
Maybe.
podcast from our Atari-themed hotel room.
God.
But...
Look, real quick before we move off of this. Okay, like living living in Orlando for a year and the gaudy themed hotel bullshit that goes on there. And knowing the shelf life that those places have, dear God, I cannot imagine how quickly this hotel, if it does go up, is going to just turn to gross. Like, look up the horror stories about the Nickelodeon Hotel in Orlando.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, you also consider what audience is it catering to? Have you ever been to a gaming convention?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Have you've seen the state of the hotels around said gaming convention?
Yeah.
Post gaming convention, like we need in there like opening week.
Yeah, before they put some of their funk into it.
I'm reminded of the elevator parties at MagFest a number of years ago.
All right, and we slide slowly into our last story, which is kind of a follow-up to last week. We mentioned that a Super Nintendo World is coming to Japan. Well, it's now coming to the US. in part with Universal Studios, is making Epic Universe as its new theme park, and it is going to start in Orlando, because of course it is. And this is going to be, it's part of its launch is Super Nintendo World.
I mean, this is cool, but also just like, where are they gonna put another theme park in Orlando?
I know! You've already got the three majors, much less all of the minor bullshit in Orlando, so you're telling me you're going to build an Epic Universe theme park as well within that city. That city is tired. They have had so many people flying in and out and fucking up everything, and now you're putting another goddamn theme park into the city.
Well, I mean, having lived in Orlando for a year, I like the synergy that's coming up now. Or two straight stories I had to bring up my year in Orlando. The part of Orlando that has all of that stuff is separate from the city, so the people that live in Orlando can fairly easily like dodge the people that go to the theme parks. That being said, though, the area that does have all the theme parks is so fucking packed and compact. I have no idea where Universal is going to put another theme park. I'm sure they have something. They have a sprawling campus out there. They'll find somewhere to put it. As long as it does not go up where Wet n Wild used to be, because Wet n Wild is a fucking landmark, even if it is closed. They replace Wet n Wild. Like, look, I love Super Nintendo World. If they replace Wet n Wild with Super Nintendo World, I fucking riot. Wet n Wild's in my blood.
They got rid of my Shipwreck Island in Panama City, Florida. After that, I don't care. Replace whatever you want to. You got rid of my heart and soul, so, you know, just rip everything else out. It's fine.
Fuck this shit. Fuck all of it.
Maybe they'll just start building vertically.
Stack this right on top of Disney. You go up through a warp pipe, and you get to Epic World.
Right. See, like, you're already thinking this way through. Like, it could be a thing. This could be how they do it.
Let's just go BioShock Infinite and put it in the fucking air.
Epic in space!
Make it an actual real-life Mario thing. You miss the jump, you fucking die. Super Mario World. Super Nintendo World.
Well, I mean, it's in conjunction with Universal Studios, so why not?
Yeah. And they already have stuff out there, so Universal is a company that I would expect to have good plans and to actually make this. So
yeah. That being said, like, yes, this is cool. I am curious to see what they do with it, and you know, it'd be a fun thing whenever if I ever go back to visit Orlando, whenever it goes up. Like, that'd be cool. I like theme parks. Theme parks are rad.
I'm happy that I might be able to actually see this Super Nintendo World without having to travel halfway across the planet.
Yeah, it's in 2023, so we'll go to Seattle, and then we'll go to Orlando. There you go. It'll be the Mr. Video Game World Tour. And by World Tour, we mean U.S.
Put it in the sky.
I see a paragraph there that worries me.
What's that?
Too far. Go back down. That they're planning on releasing another Super Mario Brothers movie.
They are.
In 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, though. Guess who's making it?
Oh, no.
Illumination.
Might not be as bad.
The people that made the Minions are making a Mario movie. It's going to be bad.
Yeah, but can it be as bad as the John Leguizamo one?
All right. Before we get into the Mr. Video Game, the post-game...
Travis is just done. Does not even want to bring up the Super Mario Brothers movie.
No. I want to bring up the Super Mario Brothers movie. Bring this to me right now. The Super Mario Brothers movie is an underappreciated gold mine, okay? Listen to me now and listen carefully. They somehow took Mario and put it in the post-apocalyptic world with strange, weird visuals. You look at that background, there's all sorts of weird shit. Now, I know, absolutely, was John Leguizamo and everyone else on set hammered the whole time and couldn't give a flying shit what they were acting? Sure, absolutely they were. But you take a look at this movie, it is a glorious clusterfuck of weird shit. It is the most bizarre thing that you can see on the screen. I love, completely non-ironically, the Super Mario Brothers movie. It is great. It is not well designed at all. It is a freak of nature, and I love it. Fight me. I've stunned everyone into speechlessness. I think now is a good time to transition into the end.
If I can just interject here.
Yeah.
God damn you, you're right.
I will fight for this stupid fucking movie. The Wizard is shit. And the first hour of The Wizard is shit. It is not a great movie. But I have gone back and watched the Super Mario Brothers movie and just laughed my ass off at it. It is a fun time for how stupid and great it ended up being.
I'm gonna have to get really drunk and rewatch this, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good way to watch it, because it's not a movie that you watch in full consciousness.
I wish we could do a drunken watch party.
We technically can. We just stream it in the Discord.
Dude.
It's true.
We might have to do this.
You've heard it here, people! We will find a date for you sometime in February, and we will stream that Super Mario Brothers movie. Mark my goddamn words. Probably near the end of February, but we're still going to do this. Kelverin, Giant Pie, Coop, you're all fucking invited. Let's do it. Speaking of Wednesday, I will be coming back here probably at 9 p.m. Eastern because I need time to actually figure out the setup of my new laptop. But Cook Serve Delicious 3, I'm going to play it for a little bit on stream. Mostly because I know myself and I will freak out during it and it will be fun for you guys, so tune in then. We'll talk about the game itself on Monday. I am a huge fan of the Cook Serve Delicious series, so look forward to that. And of course, hey everybody, join us on Discord. You can find all of our shit on youtube.com/CBGP Games, all of our backlog, as long as we were actually streaming it and remembering to send it to YouTube. As well, follow all of us on Twitter. We've got links in the doobly-doos down below. So everyone, please love us. We want your eyes and ears here at Mr. Video Games. That all being said, we can never end a Mr. Video Game live super show brought to you by Dead Sun Entertainment without giving you your Mr. Video Game of the week. Mr. Video Game, in case you do not know, is the man, the thing, the noun that has done something so stupid, so wonderful, so awful, so terrible, so amazing that you can only look at it and go, that right there is fucking video games. And our Mr. Video Games of the week is a certain Amro Elanzari. You may not know this man, but he has gone to civil court with the good people over at Jagex because they were sick of him and muted him upon the internet game RuneScape. And he decided to come into this game after his 2,000 hours and claimed in a handwritten lawsuit that Jagex had violated his due process, a discrimination, an attack on his free speech and human rights, claiming these allegations cannot state a plausible constitutional claim. The First Amendment's constitutional free speech guarantees restrict government access. There is so much here that is just fucking delightful. I strongly recommend, I have put this into chat, this whole article from Nathan Grayson over at Kotaku. This man is apparently one of the serial people that likes to go out and toss out random ass lawsuits to the U.S. Court of Appeals, and will continue to put out these things. I believe this man may or may not be a sovereign citizen. And throwing out these delightful lawsuits to whomever and wherever, but especially to the Jagex company because he has streamed nearly 2,000 hours of it upon the Twitch.
I have no words. Like, the facepalm hurt a lot. But ow.
Yeah, this dude dumb. This is just straight up. Like, this is stupid. Like, to think that you would actually be able to get a court to hear this case is patently stupid. There's
It's
no
arrogant.
way. Oh yeah. Well, the thing is that he's very litigation happy, as Travis alluded to. Let me just give you a little bit of a tiny taste of other lawsuits that he has filed.
Please.
He's filed 10 in the state of Pennsylvania, including one where he claimed that he was scammed by the Tinder dating app.
Okay.
And another one where he was fighting the fact that he was arrested by Bloomsburg University police for, and I quote, lighting up a marijuana joint in front of several campus cops. He claimed that he did so as a way of challenging the constitutionality of Pennsylvania's drug laws, and he was suing because they fined him $100 for it.
So what you're saying is he's the kind of person that is the reason why we have those warnings on cups of coffee saying warning hot coffee?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I think it's more like, in some ways, his stuff is even more dumb than that. It's more so like, I would compare it more so to like, and this is like a new phenomenon that I have discovered. It's not new, but it's something that's new to me. People that go into public offices and public facilities and do First Amendment audits, quote unquote.
Okay,
I've seen
so
this.
for the non-Americans in the room, the fuck's the
Yes.
First Amendment?
First Amendment is freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of basically in this context it speaks to freedom of speech.
But the
Like-
thing that people don't realize, because even I know this, freedom of speech does not apply to the general public.
No, not to
Freedom
corporations, not
of
to
speech
public.
applies to public figures and to the press.
Well, it does apply to the general public in some ways. It's more so like, in this instance, it was not a freedom of speech issue because it was a private company that muted him because he was being a shithead.
Yeah, the government cannot infringe upon the rights of a individual to speak, but you can, as a private person, choose not to let somebody speak upon your property. You can say, hey, that is not to be said here at my own property. That's the sort of thing you can do, but if the guy wants to stand in the middle of the road, well, probably not in the middle of the road, hey, traffic laws, but if they want to stand in a public space and shout to the world about their quabbles and issues, as long as they are not bothering anybody by doing it, perfectly legal, no matter how fucking stupid it may be.
Well, I mean, from what this guy has sued for in the past, standing in the middle of the road and running his mouth and gathering a crowd, he would allege that it's infringing on his right to assembly. So, I mean,
Yeah, I love the smarm that Nathan Grayson writes with sometime. Truly, who among us has not had a crappy date and taken it to the United States Courts of Appeals? Let he who is without sin cast the first stone, I say.
I mean,
Take your offense with Kotaku all you want to. They have some delightful smorum.
Tinder is a free service. How the fuck do you get scammed by Tinder?
I don't know.
It hurts. It hurts so bad.
I don't think anybody would want to date a man like this in the first place, so, that's, yeah.
I am legally entitled to being banged by the lady that I met on Tinder. I'm going to take it to the legal court. I'm a legal boy.
That opens a whole nother can of worms that we don't want to get into in this show.
Oh, no, we don't. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's how people think they get scammed on Tinder. It's stupid. It's all stupid. This man is stupid.
Either way, for your Monday, January 27th, 2020, this has been Mr. Video Games. Of course, as always, Slacker Kite. Thank you, everyone. Brian, do you have any final words for us this evening?
Usual plugs. Twitter at WonderboyOTM. Check out my stuff on Outsports, Pace Magazine. LGBT in the Ring, my queer wrestling podcast, drops every Thursday on the Outsports channel. Find that on your podcast stuff. I want to get that all out of the way because I really wanted to highlight something here before we left. Kobe Bryant passed away on Sunday, and it hit me really hard. As he's been a cultural touchstone in my life for a long time, and I think that there have been a lot of tributes both in the NBA and sports world, celebrity world, all over the world for him in the wake of his death. But we also have seen it in the gaming world. There's a really good piece on Polygon talking about a lot of players in NBA 2K that kind of took on the same tribute process that a lot of the NBA players did on Sunday in regards to celebrating Kobe on the court. I'm going to post it in the chat here, but it speaks to the good that even the shittiest of communities, whenever it comes to gaming, can do. Whenever someone who, had his problematic past, but at the end of the day, like, still left an indelible mark on the world as a whole. So yeah, I just want to put that out there and pass that along.
Yeah, the pour out of love and admiration for Kobe Bryant has been great. Even like NBA 2K20 went out of its way to push out a patch whenever you start the game. You start with just a black and white picture of Kobe Bryant in memoriam. We don't know how long it'll stay there, but the fact that they would do that for him, I doubt there's many basketball players that would get the love or admiration that he has gotten from his fans. So it is it's amazing, really.
Yeah.
Merwin, do you have any words for us this evening?
Just the usual, be cool to each other, be the change you want to see in the world. And I'm going to add, Kobe will very much be missed, so will his daughter.
Yes.
Also, don't be our Mr. Video Games.
No.
Please.
I mean, last week we had a Mr. Video Games who made, a delightful thing for his child. No.
I'm just referring to the one from this week. Don't be him.
Yeah, don't
Ever.
be this week's guy. Be last week's
I will
guy.
find you. I will find you and be very angry with you. You don't want an angry Mero on your hands. It's scary. Playwatch knows how scary I get when I get angry.
Oh, I've seen an angry Mero before. It is scary. It is very scary.
And I'm half your size.
Mm-hmm. I think literally.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, not from the height, but I believe from the overall physical, so yeah. Anyway, thank you all for coming. Gelverin, Giant Pie, Coop, every one of our quiet people who would watch and listen to the stream. I see you. I've got my eyes on you. All of the delightful viewers we have that seem to follow us and keep coming back week by week. Thank you all for coming. Have a good night and a pleasant tomorrow.
Bye.